So this is proof that when the correct person, when an individual who is fully equipped with the information, the knowledge, the grace, the vernacular, and just the patience and wisdom goes on to a show like Fox, let alone Laura Ingraham, going on her show as a progressive of any kind, you have to be 100% prepared, because they're going to bombard you with not questions that will educate their viewers, not, trying to dig a little deeper with some of the main things that is plaguing your normal Americans. They're not going to talk about that. They're going to throw all kinds of nonsense at you at a high rate of speed, and you have to be quick on your toes to handle that. And in this interview, Dr. Cornel West, who is running for president in 2024, which is weird to say because it just really, in my opinion, came out of left field. But Mr. Cornel West, once again, and he's not a stranger to Fox News, and it surprised me that they actually let him onto the show, and he actually did pretty daggone good. You know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead, watch this video, and let's have that conversation.
Professor, progressive activist, and now third-party presidential candidate. Dr. Cornel West is fighting against the status quo. It's a role he's very familiar with. West was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He was raised in Sacramento. Even before he finished high school, he became involved in the civil rights movement. He attended organizing protests. He finished Harvard in just 3 years, graduating magna cum laude. Then he went on to Princeton, where he got his master's and his PhD. He's taught at Harvard, at Yale, and at Princeton University. He made cameos in 2 Matrix films, but also put out a hip-hop album. And he was frequently a guest on this very show. Having done all that, he's now making a run for the White House.
I enter in the quest for truth. I enter in the quest for justice. And the presidency is just one vehicle to pursue that truth and justice, what I've been trying to do all of my life.
Joining me now, Dr. Cornel West, 2024.
Before we get into it, it just hit me. If anyone has the opportunity to pull some of the weak-minded, maybe uneducated viewers that Fox News, we know they have. We know that for a fact. They have millions of these sort of individuals. Cornel West would be, I mean, you can just hear his accolades from Laura Ingraham. He speaks to the hearts of people. He's gentle. He's not knowledgeable, and he has a friendly posture about him. You know what I'm saying, which won't scare the uneducated white folks. You know what I'm saying? So once again, it just really confuses me on why they brought him onto the show during this time, knowing, and after watching this, you will understand that was a bad move from Fox News.
Or presidential candidate for the Green Party. Professor West, it's great to see you tonight. It's really great to have you back on the show. The last time you were here, I think it was as a 2020 Bernie Sanders surrogate. So things have changed a little bit. So, why do you think so many of the... I was laughing about that, like Bernie Sanders.
Indeed. No,
seems like
Brother Bernie's my dear brother. But first, I want to thank you for having me on, Sister Laura, very much so. But no, Bernie got shut down by the corporate wing of the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party is so tied to Wall Street, it's so tied to the Pentagon, that I thought it very important to build on the richer legacy that has shaped and molded me, not just the West family, not just Shiloh Baptist Church on the chocolate side of Sacramento, but the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. and Rabbi Heschel and Edward Said and Dorothy Day and Grace Lee Boggs. So it's this legacy spills over now into electoral politics, because I'm thoroughly convinced, my dear sister, that the two-party system stands in the way for the empowerment of precious poor people and precious working people. And I am fundamentally committed to the plight of the least of these, not just here and around the world. I'm against the militarism abroad. I'm against the organized greed. I'm against the routinized indifference to the vulnerable, no matter what color they are, no matter what gender, no matter what sexual orientation.
Now, tell me what Fox News, what right wing, what Republican voter is going to hear something like that and be like, I don't like Democrat. He's not running as a Democrat. Oh, well, you know, these just our government. He's against the two-party system and understands the greed that is kind of controlling both parties. He understands that. Well, he's just for black. No, he said he wants justice for all poor people, no matter their color. Like what can they say about that? What can Laura Ingraham combat with that? And she knows his history. Once again, why did they do this? I don't know.
Dr. West, I know you support drawing this Ukraine conflict to a close. And just tonight, the Washington Post is reporting that the Biden administration is giving backing to a plan that would remove barriers to Ukraine's entry into NATO without setting a timeline for its admission. So the Democrat Party is obviously all in, as are many Republicans, not Donald Trump. I don't think Ron DeSantis, but pretty much all the other Republicans are for the U.S. being on the hook for perpetually defending Ukraine from the aggression of any other country. Why is that interventionism, let's focus on the Democrat Party, at the cornerstone now of who they are really in foreign policy? How did that happen and why?
Well, I mean, the Democratic Party has a long history of being committed to wars. Look at, you can go back all the way to Vietnam. But unfortunately, we have to tell the truth. NATO, the promise would be that NATO would not move 1 inch against or toward Russian territory. A few years later, 14 former Soviet countries part of NATO. So that you can imagine any empire, the American empire, the most powerful, and it's, you know the history of invasion and occupation, but you would probably agree that if there were Russian missiles in Mexico, Russian missiles in Canada, it would be blown to smithereens very, very quickly. Why? Because empires behave that way. Now, if you're a radical Democrat, you have a critique of the imperial overlay of your country. That includes organized greed at the top with Wall Street, and it includes the war profiteers.
I would say, Cornel,
I'm in solidarity with the suffering of the Ukrainian people, but we've got to bring that war to a stop, cease fire, and then proceed diplomatically and transfer some of those funds from the military to investment in jobs and health care and quality education and decent homes.
Dr. West, one thing I'm very curious about, because on these seminal issues, like you and I disagree on a lot, but you and I actually agree on a lot. On the surveillance state, on the perpetual war, on the Wall Street influence in politics. We agree on a lot of things. To me, it seems like you're closer in many ways to populist conservatives on those types of issues than you are the modern Democrat Party. And I know you're running as a Green, but can't you tonight say that Donald Trump did more for African Americans in the inner city with increased real median income, increased entrepreneurial opportunities, criminal justice reform, all the things that he did when he was president, given all the investigations, all the stuff that was happening? Can't you recognize that he actually was doing his best at the time to stand up for disenfranchised people with an economy that was actually growing for the first time? For real median income was growing for all demographic
Just look
groups.
at what's his face. Come on now.
You have to acknowledge that the grotesque wealth inequality was increasing even as those low unemployment rates were in place. Now, I give him credit for the low unemployment rates, but the problem with Brother Trump, and it's very important to keep in mind, we got to do away with all this hatred and revenge. I don't hate Brother Trump. I hate the lies, and I hate the gangster activity, and I hate the kind of neo-fascist language he uses. When he trashes Muslims, when he trashes, calling black folk, football players, sons of B-I-T-C-A. No, his language is neo-fascist, and he was still tied to big military, still allowing Wall Street to get away. That's where you and I would disagree. That's where we disagree. But I'll say this.
But the left is targeted
I don't hate Biden, but I hate Biden's hypocrisy.
Well, I
hate his neoliberal policies.
Yeah, but
So do you see what just happened? Do you see what just happened? Sometimes you cannot fall into the traps of Fox News when they're trying to just get soundbite of you saying something erotic, like, did Trump help black people more than any other president? Like, okay, but, and she was like, despite his his charge and this, and it's like, wait, I don't care about, did he do more for I want to know, what did he do for the entire country? What policies, how was he treating fellow Americans of different color? And as we know, he fumbled the ball on that. We all know Donald Trump, but she tried to exclude all of that in just one piece, which it was Obama who started that decline, and Trump just carried the torch after that. So he didn't really implement no policies to start the decline of unemployment. So I'm glad that Dr. Cornel West didn't fall for that, and he said, hey, you're not going to see me sit here and try to butter up to Donald Trump or some of the good things he did. Dr. Cornel West is running against Donald Trump. We need to hear why we don't want another 4 years of Donald Trump. And he said that perfectly.
But the surveillance state that you and I think a lot of conservatives have grown incredibly mistrustful of, and the outsized influence of the Pentagon, they were all turned against Trump. So you have to acknowledge that. Milley, the whole Milley apparatus, they were all against Trump. All of them. Why were they against Trump if he was a big threat?
It's because that neoliberal apparatus wanted to retain its status, and Trump came in as a critic from the right wing.
Right.
And that's where the neo-fascism comes in, by trashing the immigrants, trashing too many precious gay brothers and lesbian sisters and so forth.
I know that's your line.
He didn't say too many nice things. He didn't say too many nice things.
He wasn't trashing immigrants. He just said Mexico is just sending all their rapists and drug dealers and not sending their best. He called third world countries shitholes countries. Like, really calling, trying to make it seem as if Muslims are, the cause of the situation that happened during it. It's like, really, Laura, really, who are you trying to fool here? You know what I'm saying? Anyone with a half of intellect will understand Donald Trump did not care about immigrants. He did not care about gay and lesbian and trans people. We know that for a fact. You're not going to laugh your way out of that. Come on now.
Say about my and even the people who support. But I can tell you this, as a presidential candidate, I'm going straight into Brother Trump's country, and I'm going to tell the brothers and sisters of all colors, I want you not to scapegoat the most vulnerable. I want you to confront the most powerful. That's right. Wall Street. Ooh. That's Silicon Valley. That's the war profiteers, the
Trump.
Pentagon.
Yeah.
That's where I think we need to go.
They're going to hate you. They're going to hate you, and they're going to hate Trump.
I will.
Okay, so that was probably one of the most powerful statements that no matter where you vote, left or right, you have to understand that. we cannot we can't allow politicians to use disenfranchised people, use poor people, use people of color, use anybody as a scapegoat to every single problem America faces. It is the people at the top. It is the people controlling the money, controlling just the economy in general. Those are the people that is holding us back. Not black people, not poor white folks, not gay people, not trans people, not Mexican people, not Muslims. It is the 1%, less than 1% actually. Those are the people we need to focus on. And the left and the right, Democrats and Republicans, are the ones that is trying to use people and culture disputes to use as a scapegoat. And there's a lot of idiots that fall for that. So I think what Dr. West said right there was right on the nail, right on the head of the nail. You understand what I'm saying?
I welcome their hostility, because you know, as
I want to ask you.
I
want to ask you about an open border. I mean, take it away from Trump. The border is essentially open today. If you want to come into the country, you can come in, which the liberals have all said they're always for. They like the idea of an open border. Do you think an open border has helped the plight of African Americans in cities like Chicago, in New York, St. Louis, Baltimore, Oakland, San Francisco? Has it helped their standard of living?
Here we go.
One is that you first always have to begin at the top. You have to look at the ways in which the business people and the property owners bring in cheap labor in order to keep the wages low. That's why I support not just trade union movements. That's why I support the various strikes that's on the way this summer, to make sure working people gain concessions, because
you sound
those
like
at the
Ron
top
DeSantis.
seem to be so greedy. They
That's
seem
what
to be
Ron
so
DeSantis
greedy.
says.
No, but
Yeah.
no, but the problem with DeSantis is he's got the xenophobic.
He says they're trying to lower
he's got
wages,
the xenophobic
Cornel.
dimension to it. I want the immigrants
There's a lot of
and the
agreement
workers
here.
of all colors to come together against the bosses. DeSantis still has too much xenophobia for me. And that's a radical difference between right-wing populists and highly left-oriented people in love with poor and working people, no matter what color.
Cornel, I think that...
Do you see how she tried to be like, oh, that's what DeSantis said. That DeSantis wants to lower wages. Nah. When has DeSantis said he wants to still keep in immigrants, through policy, coming over the border? We're not going to just shun everybody out. But the issue is these companies that will utilize and exploit these kind of workers to keep lower wages. That's all they're doing. And that's a major part of it. And, when they're crossing the border, like, they don't have papers, they don't have the documents, or they just fall into these jobs to where they're paying extremely low wages and other companies follow suit. It's a whole science to this thing. And Ron DeSantis, but no. I'm glad Dr. Cornel West put a separation there. Like, hey, too much hate over there. That is not what I represent. I want to lower wages for the people. DeSantis wants to lower wages and use trans people, gay people, immigrants as scapegoats, as they're the reason why wages are not going lower. And of course, if DeSantis was to become president, he's not going to make any changes. He's going to continue to use people as the reason why, wages can't increase. We see it all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad Dr. Cornel West, once again, did not fall for that.
And may I call you Cornel? I always call you Doctor, right? Cornel,
oh, absolutely.
Dr. West.
Absolutely.
No, put some respect on his name.
Do you think there are ways for the left-wing populists and the right-wing or conservative populists can work together on these issues, where there is common ground, whether it's on the war front
there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. My dear brother Clifton West has said that what we need is a paradigm shift in politics. What we need is an ideological realignment of the landscape. And what that means with those who have critiques of predatory capitalist processes, those who have critiques of white supremacy, you and I are going to fight on the vicious legacy of white supremacy because the racism is still operating, not as intense as it was 75 years ago, but it's still there in so many different ways. I think of what's happening right now with my two dear brothers in Mississippi. But, so that we have to, but also I don't downplay the vicious attacks on my gay brothers and lesbian sisters and trans, and the defense of women and women having control over their bodies and reproductive rights.
Do you think, you know what I don't know your view on, Cornel, is your view on trans athletes in women's sports, because you are a big champion of women.
Jesus Christ. She could have broken that down into just about any other important question. Abortion, higher wages for women. She could have spun off of that in any other substantive way. But no, once again, the only thing that these Republicans know how to do is fight about cultural disagreements. That's the only thing they have, because they know their viewers just want to feed off of ignorant situations like that. They don't want to hear about the actual policies and things that actually affect millions of people. Trans people playing in sports, how many is there? You could probably count it on two hands. Some of the situations. It's not you. They make it seem like it's millions of these people just evading some of these sports. It's not like that. But their ignorant audience believes that, and that's all they want to hear. So of course she's gonna ask a stupid question that has nothing to do with nothing that I'm dealing with. You know what I'm saying? I want to know about healthcare. I want to know about climate change. I want to know about higher wages. That's what I want to know about. Taxes. Let's talk about some of the important things, not trans playing in sports. I ain't got time for that. You know what I'm saying? So let's see how he answers this.
Disagree on the abortion issue, but you are a big champion of women, right, and I appreciate that. I was a female athlete, my day, ages ago. But what about that?
Yes.
Do you think trans men who are biological men should, be in the Wimbledon finals?
You know, I mean, I am committed to the dignity of precious trans folk because they're so vulnerable, and I just hate to see
women
them
don't have a shot then,
and attacked. But I'm also willing to learn and listen in the argument, because I think it depends on case to case and context to context. I just want to make sure that the most vulnerable are never, ever
Women are
trashed.
vulnerable. Yeah, women are vulnerable if they're competing against men in most sports. All right.
Once again, I think that was it was a safe answer. He said, I want to learn. I want to have that conversation. That's always good to admit. You don't want to always pretend as if you know every single answer and every single solution. And once again, he said it's case by case. You can't just have one blanket answer for, 20, 30 different cases. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to go case by case and figure it out from there. And maybe he wants to learn from some of these people who actually play these sports, because half of the people watching this, or probably everyone watching this, can't name a professional volleyball team. I don't even know if they have professional volleyball. I don't know, but I couldn't name one to save my life. Name one tennis player besides Serena Williams and her sister. Well, see, I can't even remember. So once again, Dr. Cornel West says he is more worried about alienating the most vulnerable people. We don't want to do that. And he's going to, go case by case and figure it out, talk to some people, and then make his answer. Once again, that's not the answer Fox News wants to hear. They want to hear, something that's clickbaitable, something that can go viral. to make him look bad, or to be like, looky, he agrees with Ron DeSantis. You know what I'm saying? So, come on, Laura, you failed.
Dr. West, come back. It's great to have.
But that's another issue. But
we'll come back soon.
Thank you so much.
Great to see you as always. All right, you take care. Work together.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Oh man, let's go ahead. Flip this here. Once again, I don't know where. Well, I kind of do. When Trump came into office, politics, it felt for me, changed forever. We are no longer talking about policy. We're not talking about these important things in a important conversation. It's always, healthcare, but we're giving free money to poor people or something. It always has to have some underlying ignorance to it. You know what I'm saying? I want to hear, which I'm pretty sure if you're watching my video, you are one of these people, you want to hear conversations that has substance to it, that has some meat and potatoes to it. You know what I'm saying? I don't care about transplanting sports. I don't care about trans kids in school, which, I do care about, their well-being. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure I can go out there and provide for my family, make sure me and my family can, enjoy the world we live in without the threat of crazy people with AR-15s. I just want to live in a world to where I don't have to always think every person is suspect. You know what I'm saying? I want to live in a world where I don't feel like my job is taking advantage of me. And if I say anything, I'm going to get fired and then have to deal with another poor paying job. You know what I'm saying? Those are the conversations I wish politicians would get back into. And it feels so far, Dr. Cornel West is doing a great job doing so. So once again, am I wrong? Did I just look at that video and just get everything incorrect? If I did, let me know in the comments. And like always, let's have that conversation.